Okay, before we begin, I need to make one thing perfectly clear. The title of this film is Robin Hood, not Robin Hood. Get it right. Robin Hood. Even if you've never read the story, you know of this guy. Originating from English ballads from the mid to late 14th century, the legend has been retold through various mediums for centuries, with most of these reinterpretations following the same plot. The storyline often consists of a green-clad archer and his group known as the Merry Men telling the then in power Prince John, "I'm not doing that!" All alongside a cast of side characters including Friar Tuck, Maid Marian, Alan Adale, the Sheriff of Nottingham, and plenty of others, all ripe with potential for a Disney Plus miniseries. As with most classic tales, Disney adapted it into an animated feature leading to the 1973 film Robin Hood. So that explains why they adapted Robin Hood. But that fails to explain why I have to make sure I have safe search on when browsing images of these characters. Many might assume that the all-animal cast was a decision to differentiate this from the numerous Robin Hood films, including Disney's own live-action adaptation from 1952. But the real reason can be traced all the way back to the time shortly after the release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. While scouring through classic stories to adapt into future films, Walt Disney came across the French fable known as Renaud the Fox that centers around the escapades of a con artist fox. Walt had plans to adapt the story into a film, however, these plans constantly fell through, whether it be due to the restrictions on filmmaking at the time not fitting the criminal nature of the story, or due to a lack of budget. Sometime after Walt's passing, Disney animator Ken Anderson came up with the idea of combining Renaud with Robin Hood by telling the story of Robin Hood with a cast of anthropomorphic animals. The film's director Wolfgang Reitherman would give an in-universe reason for this artistic decision, explaining the film as the story of Robin Hood as seen through the eyes of the animals of Sherwood Forest who knew him the best. Wait, hold up. The director of this film was named Wolfgang? They did not just hire a man named Wolfgang to direct one of the most famous films in the furry community. The advent of this creative choice did not mark the end of changes, however. The film originally featured an American setting akin to Song of the South, but this never happened because, well, Song of the South. Certain characters also changed their species or roles to better fit the plot. Friar Tuck changed from a pig to a badger to avoid religious backlash, and the initial goat sheriff was replaced with a wolf for a more threatening antagonist. Yet that didn't stop filmmakers from giving him the least threatening accent imaginable.
Untie the prisoner?
Another interesting change was turning a snake villager into Prince John's loyal servant, Sir Hiss. I understand why some of these changes were made, but I really wish they didn't change the sheriff for Sir Hiss. I get that design should clearly reflect the character's personality, but I always prefer animal characters who play against their species stereotypes, as it is far more creative and memorable to watch a threatening peacock than a threatening wolf. Despite its rushed production and smaller budget, Robin Hood debuted on November 8, 1973, and although it received mixed reviews, the film went on to become a much beloved classic. Gee, I wonder why. It went on to inspire other anthropomorphic animal films and other Disney foxes not to pay their taxes. This all begs the question, is this film merely a classic for appealing to a growing niche, or is this film a well-written, thought-provoking masterpiece? It's the former. You're watching The LionDog Show, and I'm watching Disney's Robin Hood. Since this is a classic Disney film, it is morally obligated to begin with a storybook opening where we're introduced to this film's narrator, Alan Adale, who begins the film's opening, which is comprised entirely of clips from the film that make this feel like a sitcom rather than an adventure film. A very telling opening in more ways than one. Also, I must be the one to burden you with the knowledge that the opening theme, the whistle stop, was later remixed for that hamster dance meme from the 2000s, which was later used as Miley's ringtone in the Hannah Montana movie. Now that's what we like to call full circle. Once the opening concludes, we meet a fox named Robin Hood and his partner Little John the Bear. We get acquainted to them through their casual antics of strolling through the forest and messing around in the river. They're like Timon and Pumbaa if Timon and Pumbaa were wanted by the IRS. Also, stop drinking from the river, you two! You're drinking anthropomorphic fish pee! This disgusting act is thankfully put to a stop by a pack of wolves ambushing them, which gives Little John an opportunity to show off his super speed. Before you ask, no, this never comes back into play. After the two escape into a tree, Robin explains their roles as anti-heroes who rob from the rich to support the poor. We also learn that Robin's and Little John's clothes are made of the symbiote since they're good as new after getting arrows shot through them. And before you ask, no, this never comes back into play. At this point, Little John also chastises Robin's risk-taking right as a carriage passes by with the film's antagonist, Prince John, and his servant, Sir Hiss.
Nothing. Ham.
Oh, I'm detecting a hint of ham, alright. Ah yes, my favorite Disney film is the one with the all-animal cast where the main antagonist is a flamboyant lion. Which one? In the carriage, it's revealed that Prince John was able to take over England and tax the citizens to the point of poverty due to Sir Hiss hypnotizing the rightful King Richard into going on a crusade. Okay, that has got to be the lamest excuse for war crimes that I have ever heard. Okay, in my defense, I was brainwashed by a snake. Hiss then uses his abilities to calm down John, and you guessed it, this never comes back into play. And this isn't just some Looney Tunes malarkey. This is an actual character trait that is already being used for plot significance. Why doesn't Hiss use his hypnotism to convince the citizens to give them their taxes, or better yet, use it to usurp the title of Prince from John? He truly deserves it, as he is easily my favorite character from the movie. He's so cute and loyal to PJ despite how much he abuses him. And it's not just the prince who is responsible for this, everyone treats him like garbage. He just can't catch a break. Also, I love his animation. It's so clever how the animators had him display all sorts of gestures and perform so many actions through only a line. Animated snakes are truly humanity's greatest achievement. World peace? Pretty overrated. Have you seen Sir Hiss using his tail as a propeller? Gary's got a lot to live up to. With Public Enemy #1 in their home base, the duo leap into action. What are they supposed to do? Dress in drag and tell his fortune?
Look, sire. Look.
Okay, yeah, but where did they get those disguises? Either Robin and John have disguises hidden all around the forest and these just so happen to be the ones closest, or they came across two fortune tellers and stole their clothes. Perhaps it's best not to think about it. The two in disguise catch Prince John's eyes despite his suspicions.
Female bandits? What next?
Not cool, PJ. Not cool. After this, Prince John then proceeds to sit on Hiss. It's someone's fantasy. After Robin steals from PJ while distracting him with his fortune, and after Little John steals from the guard's treasure while distracting him with his ultra-thick yacht, Prince John figures out that he's been duped. I'm honestly shocked that PJ even believed their lies. I mean, look how sketchy they look. Okay, maybe now would be a good time to discuss the film's animation. Robin Hood was animated using the Xerox method, in the same vein of many Disney films of its era. To put simply, the Xerox method streamlined the animation process by transferring the pencil sketches to cells and painting over them instead of using the sketches as the basis for cleaner line art. While it was a blatant way to save time and money during a time in which Disney wanted to save on both of them, I believe that it actually benefits this film, making it feel like the illustrations of a children's fable book brought to life. Prince John orders his rhino servants to capture the duo, but by the time they discover abstinence, the carriage falls apart due to Little John's tampering, allowing him and Robin Hood to escape. And with that, our main protagonists have defeated the main villain. We're not even a quarter through the movie! We then cut over to the village of Nottingham, where Alan Dale introduces the viewers to the film's secondary antagonist, the village's sheriff. The village's oddly Southern American sheriff. It's likely that this voice direction was a remnant of the initial Southern setting for the film, but it's still jarring. Like, you got most of your cast sounding like they belong in medieval England, but then you got that one character sounding like he belongs in a Cracker Barrel parking lot on a Sunday afternoon. Also, please tell me I'm not the only one who just now realized that the sheriff might have been an inspiration for Clawhauser from Zootopia.
Friar Tuck, the old do-gooder. He's out doing good again.
Sheriff really out there reaching that 1,000-word minimum. Sheriff follows Friar Tuck to the blacksmith Otto's house to catch them in the act of hiding money. While the two deny having any money at the moment, consider that commandment broken, Friar. Sheriff finds some coins in Otto's cast. Okay, that has got to be the worst place to hide loose coins, and something that you're constantly moving. Oh no, where do I hide my whoopee cushion? Perfect! Also, based on Otto's wincing when the sheriff forces out the coins, his leg is clearly broken, and I seriously doubt that having small metallic objects flying around in your cast will do your broken bones any favors. After that, we go over to a family of bunnies where we meet Skippy and his younger siblings. I normally don't care for sickly sweet children in media, but the children's voices having a Peanuts quality to it and how they don't deliver all of the lines perfectly give these characters a sense of authenticity. Also, I love the baby sister who is always tagging along with the older kids. I feel like every friend group had that younger sibling who was always desperately following their older siblings. Believe me, I know. I was that younger sibling. These kids are also significant for their ability to sing without moving their mouths.
Happy birthday, dear Skippy!
Happy birthday to...
Oh, come on, his singing wasn't that bad. After the sheriff takes away Skippy's gift of a single coin, in this economy, Robin Hood shows up disguised as an internet meme to give Skippy his birthday present, a lethal weapon. Could you tell this was originally set in America? This is even one of those suction cup errors that you see in cartoons. That thing could seriously hurt someone. We're either about to watch the furry version of A Christmas Story, or the origin of those bunnies from Kung Fu Panda 4. Fortunately, for the sake of this film's G rating, the worst thing Skippy here and his friends do is shoot the arrow into Prince John's yard. When retrieving it, Skippy bumps into two relatively important characters to the film, Lady Cluck and Maid Where Were You in Wreck-It Ralph 2 Marion. These two are essentially the female counterparts of Robin Hood and Little John, with Maid Marian being the kind-hearted leading lady and Cluck being her energetic sidekick. Essentially, Maid Marian is Peach, while Lady Cluck is Daisy. I also love love how they're a pair of friends comprising of a fox and a hen, despite foxes often preyed on hens. The establishment hides this to keep us divided. While on the subject of Maid Marian's species, she is a fox, while her uncles are both lions. Something is refusing to add up. While the children talk to her, we learn that Maid Marian and Robin were once childhood friends, and that Robin even carved their initials into a tree. Wait, hold on a second. Robin Hood is his real name? I just thought that was an alias and his real name was Derek or something. They did not just name a thief Robin. How are we supposed to take our title character seriously when he's named like a Phoenix Wright suspect? This mention of Robin Hood leads to a game of pretend between Skippy and the two ladies.
Death the tyrants!
Says the kid who's later marching alongside said tyrants. Hashtag Skippy is over party. Once they're finished playing, Maid Marian does the first thing a woman should totally do when alone with a minor in the forest: kiss him without his consent. Really taking child predators to a whole new level there, aren't you, Maid Marian? This 20-minute section is far and away my favorite part of this film, as it does a great job at seamlessly introducing you to the cast. It smoothly transitions from one character to another, allowing the viewers to get acquainted with how everyone interacts, and gives us a glimpse of what a day in the life of Nottingham looks like before the plot, or rather plots, begin. What makes this better is the fact that they didn't have to do this. The film already established Alan Dale as the narrator. He could have just explained who everyone is and their role in the story, but instead, they let the characters speak for themselves. You can really tell that the writers understand that these characters are why we're here, and that their interactions are ultimately what make the film. My only real complaint with this portion is the second scene with Maid Marian and Lady Cluck feels kinda repetitive, as it only restates Marian's love for Robin, which was clearly hinted at in the previous scene. I do like how an instrumental of their love song plays in the scene and how that flows into the next scene with Robin and John, but they could have just played that at the end of the first Marian scene. It would have fit with her kissing Skippy. Returning to Robin and John, we learned that Robin reciprocates Marian's feelings for him, and this even convinces him to participate in an archery tournament to win a kiss from her. Unbeknownst to him, however, the tournament is a plot by PJ to lure Robin out of hiding. Fortunately, Robin and John attend the tournament donning disguises. I love Robin's exaggerated movements on the stilts in his historic disguise. He's waddling around like a little kid without a care in the world. During the tournament, we also learned that Alan Dale is a proper player in the story, while also being the narrator, meaning he transcends reality and sees beyond the fourth wall, like Deadpool. Or Sticks the Badger. Also, I love how once Alan gets involved in the scene, his whistling becomes part of the score. BJ then sends Hiss out to find which competitor Robin Hood is, while he flies in a balloon with some of the best sound design money can buy. Before the games begin, Robin introduces himself to Marian, who then pogs at the thought of gaining eye whites for a single shot, or because she can tell it's Robin either or. Hold on, why is he trying to win so badly? What's the point of this tournament to lure Robin Hood out of hiding by finding the best archer? You'd think Prince John would have let him know what his plan was. Maybe it might have helped if they set up that he had a crush on Maid Marian, because as it stands, it looks as though the sheriff is just being a jerk for no better reason than being a jerk. Despite the sheriff's cheating attempts, Robin wins the tournament, but before he can receive his kiss, Prince John exposes him, and despite Marian's pleas, he sentences him to death, until he suddenly changes his mind.
I owe my life to you, my darling.
Do you though? Prince John never gave a reason for sparing Robin's life. For all we know, he spared him because the axe wasn't sharpened that day or because of the cost of disposing of the body. It doesn't even matter since Prince John only spared him because Little John was threatening him behind the curtain. It feels like they wanted to give Maid Marian a heroic moment without actually giving her one. Also, hold up! Little John had a knife with him the whole time? It was right next to him! Just stab him! What, do you guys have a no-kill rule? The sheriff then says,
There's something funny going on around here.
leading him to Little John, distracting him long enough to free Prince John. What follows this is something I can only describe as a fight scene mixed with a chase scene mixed with the college football game. And that description does not even come close to giving this scene justice. I swear, every time I watch this film, I tell myself that there is no way the madness of the scene will escalate further, and it always does. If you can watch only one scene from this film, make it this one. That chaotic scene is followed by a gentler scene between Robin and Marian, in which we hear this film's love song, Love. It's a decent enough love song, but there's a reason you barely see any cover YouTubers sing it. It might have been a bit more iconic if Maid Marian was actually singing it during the scene instead of off-screen. Once the song concludes, the villagers jump out to surprise the couple. Oh, come on guys, let the Disney Pleasant chill in privacy! This kicks off a party that sticks it not only to Prince John through the song Phony King of England, but also to the thought of original animation, since most of the animation in this scene is recycled from somewhere else. The drumming rabbit is that racist stereotype from Aristocats. movies. Maid Marian's dancing can be traced to both Aristocats and Snow White, and Little John's moves find their origins in Baloo from the Jungle Book, which isn't surprising since the two share similar designs and even the voice actor Phil Harris. The recycled animation doesn't even stop at other films. They reused the animation of the kids laughing from when Maid Marian kisses Skippy. Does this film's regurgitation know no limits? Okay, at the time, I understand why they would recycle animation, as it was far easier to get away with it. Back then, the average viewer had far less access to movies, so only those who practically memorized Snow White through rewatching limited re-releases could recognize the reused footage. It also helps that the animation that they recycled comes from something as broad as a dance scene. None of the visuals give the impression that they didn't originate from this film, so it's far less noticeable. But yeah, the recycling from its own film is pretty lame, and this isn't even the only case of them doing it.
There's something funny going on around here.
It turns out that the Phony King of England is such a hit that even PJ's supporters are singing it, leading to PJ tripling the villagers' taxes. This causes... Did I skip a cutscene? I feel as though this film's rushed nature shows itself far more in the time skips such as these than its recycled animation. I understand that the average viewer could most likely figure out that the villagers are in prison since they couldn't pay their increased taxes, but there is so much tonal whiplash going from a "he's right behind me, isn't he" joke to "all hope is lost." Maybe they could have had a scene of the rabbit family getting arrested and then escorted out of their house where we see the rest of the villagers being treated similarly. I assume they figured that just showing them in prison got the point across just as well, so why not just save time by getting straight to the point? We cut over to Friar Tuck, who seems to be doing just fine.
We must do what we can to keep their hopes alive.
Yeah, keeping their hopes alive by playing a depressing song. Real soup for the soul, Tuck. That is until...
Things can get worse.
Howdy, Friar.
You idiot! The sheriff steals the remaining coin from the poor box, and Friar Tuck responds with exactly what I said to that stupid punk in my Sunday school class who said VeggieTales is for babies!
Get out of my church!
Apparently, belly bumping is also a federal offense as it gets Friar Tuck arrested. We return to Prince John, who's sitting at his brother's throne as though his entire extended family left him after finding out what happened to the spear of Selene, when Hiss gives him the idea to assert his dominance by hanging Friar Tuck in order to lure out Robin Hood in order to hang him as well. Wow, this would genuinely be a shocking and serious turn. If we didn't already see the noose in the opening credits. Robin Hood catches wind of the plot, so he and Little John plan out a heist to free the prisoners and to rob Prince John's bedroom. During this plot, we see that Vulture triggers incompetence with a crossbow as he nearly kills both him and the sheriff. I would like to remind you that this is where Nottingham's tax dollars are going. The plan goes well until PJ wakes up and sends his guards after the prisoners, and while everyone else escapes, Robin Hood is trapped inside, where he fights with the sheriff and dives into the moat, where he is assumed to have died until he re-emerges from the water. We then fade into a more optimistic Nottingham, where Alan Adale explains that King Richard returned and, well,
he just straightened everything out.
That's it? The sole conflict was resolved off screen? Also, did you hear how apathetic Alan sounded explaining that? If the narrator isn't invested in the resolution of the story, why should the audience be? If cutting to everyone in prison was skipping a cutscene, this is skipping the final boss. This is not awesome movies done quick, Disney.
You know something, Robin? You're taking too many chances.
I would really prefer if you would be quiet.
This film's rushed resolution likely comes from the fact that this wasn't the original ending. In a prior version of this film, Robin got injured while escaping Prince John's castle, and he hid in the church where Maid Marian protected him from Prince John until King Richard returned.
King Richard!
I fail to see any reason why the final film's conclusion is better than this, outside of it being shorter and easier to animate under a tight deadline and budget. For starters, it would have tied perfectly into Robin Hood's established character flaw of him taking too many risks, which is mentioned in the opening scene between him and Little John, seen in his willingness to walk into the trap of the archery tournament, and even seen with how he steals every single money bag from Prince John's room despite him having enough already. With him escaping scot-free, it leaves Little John's warning at the start as set up with no payoff. Robin getting injured also would have made him the one in need of help, and it would have given those he had helped throughout the course of the film, such as Maid Marian, the opportunity to help him in return. Sort of a It's a Wonderful Life or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man style ending. You know, one selfless act always sparks another and all that. Speaking of Maid Marian, this climax would have given her much more plot relevance than she has in the final movie. They spent a considerable amount of time in the first half setting her and Lady Cluck's characters and Maid Marian's relationship with Robin, only for it to be forgotten until the very end. Without the the original ending, Maid Marian's character feels almost pointless outside of the fact that she's an iconic character in the story of Robin Hood and that this is a classic Disney movie, ergo it must have a love story. One way they could have given Maid Marian more of a potent role in the story is by giving her a subplot where she feels powerless against Prince John, and seeing Robin Hood in danger is what gives her the courage to confront him. It would have delivered a good character arc, something this film is sorely lacking, as the traits and values that each character displays at the start of the film are the same traits and values that they display at the end. Furthermore, having Maid Marian barely prevent Prince John from killing Robin long enough for King Richard to return delivers the message that you don't need to be the knight in shining armor to be a hero, and that helping when you're needed and making sacrifices for those you love can make all the difference. As much as I hate Disney's live-action remakes, I would willingly watch a remake of this film if it meant we got to see this scrapped ending. Regardless, in the final scene of the actual movie, we see Robin and Marian get married, and we finally meet King Richard. How old were you when you found out he and Prince John had the same voice actor? We also see Skippy tagging along with the couple's honeymoon to look after their kids? I don't know, this kid's giving me real Denny from The Room vibes. And with that, Robin and Maid Marian ride off into the sunset as the film comes to a close. Oodalolly, golly, what on earth did I just watch? Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest about this. If it weren't for the furry appeal, I do not see this film being considered a classic. Just because something is old does not automatically make it a classic. This is a piece of moldy bread. Don't make them like they used to. A classic is a work that stands the test of time, one that holds its own against works released today. If this film came out today, it would be laughed out of the theaters, and not in a good way. On top of the recycled animation and the lack of a true character arc, this film's biggest issue is its disjointed plot. Many people, myself included, are accustomed to films, or any form of fiction for that matter, being centered around a single conflict. There may be subplots here and there, but it begins introducing a conflict and ends when that conflict is resolved. Here, it feels like the film sets up a conflict, resolves it within 20 minutes, and then sets up another issue to solve. They defeat Prince John, and then in the next scene, he's like, I'm back! This film honestly feels like one of those direct-to-video Disney sequels that were episodes from a scrap TV show stitched together. The first scene where the duo rob Prince John's carriage is the pilot, everything from the meeting of the cast to the party scene is a standard episode, and the heist and escape plane is the series finale. This fractured nature also leads to an inconsistency in tone. The first two episodes of the film are fairly lighthearted until things take a turn for the worse on a dime in the third episode. I might not have minded the disjointed storyline if it at least ended on a strong note. However, the comeuppance we do see for Prince John does not feel final at all. He's still in power. What's stopping him from taxing the villagers to repair the castle, or looking to other towns in England to pillage? The mention of the resolution that we get feels so anticlimactic, like, who cares? I do! I really do! Because outside of the weak plot, I love this movie! It's genuinely hilarious. There are jokes that still get a laugh out of me after my third and fourth viewing. Almost every character is memorable and entertaining, and that has a lot to do with their voice actors. My issue of certain characters not getting enough screen time just goes to show the impact they had on me. They left me wanting more. While it may not be a great adventure film, it is a wonderful comedy. In a way, with it being a series of escapades of animals using their wit and slapstick to defeat their adversaries, Robin Hood could be seen as the best Looney Tunes movie we've ever gotten so far. I just wish it had a more cohesive plot. I'm not gonna act like I have a defined palette for films, but when it comes to what people refer to as popcorn movies, I tend to give them a pass as long as they have a decent plot. As long as you have great characters, well done action, or great jokes, I don't need an amazing plot to love it. I just need a plot that works. And unfortunately, this film's awkward plot does weigh it down for me. These are great stories, I just think they're in the wrong format. They're far more suited for television. Out of all the Disney films, I'm surprised that this never got an animated series. A cartoon based on a film from the 70s would not have been entirely out of the question, since TaleSpin took Jungle Book characters and reworked them into an original series. Maybe there's something they could have done with placing this film's cast in the modern day as a gang of lovable rogues, kinda like the bad guys. Overall, despite its weak plot, Robin Hood is still a solid film that doesn't feel like it's trying to be something it isn't. It comes off as a film where the crew said, screw it, let's just have fun, but still put in enough charm and heart to prevent it from feeling like mindless entertainment. And while Emperor's New Groove is by far a more fully realized take on a comedic Disney film, I definitely put this film on my likeage. You've been watching The LionDog Show. Have a great day, and stick around for more.